Alexa, what day is it?
Today is Thursday, March 1st.
Alexa, what time is it?
The time is 9:34 a.m.
Alexa, turn on light one. Thank you. You need to get some of that light onto me. Yeah. Right. Alexa is moving the lamp around. Don't worry about that. Hi, I'm Linton, and we're going to be going on with the most dreaded terror series. These are the UN numbers. Um, 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 we're pursuing the mechanism that causes inbreeding depression, that kills babies when there's too much inbreeding, and it turns out it kills babies with too much outbreeding, but we need to figure out how it works. Okay, so the UN has accumulated data on the total fertility of countries and divided them into the least developed, middling, and most developed. I don't know how they did all of that. Surely the relative development of countries can change compared with each other, and I don't know how they handled that. But I doubt there was much of it. So here are all I did was take their numbers and put them on a graph. There it is. I doubt anybody's much surprised to see that the least developed countries, the ones that can least afford babies, have the most babies, and the most developed countries have the least babies. That's been true for a long time, at least 30 years, and these red bars are the intermediate countries. And you can see the lines can go up, they can go down. They just accumulated the data. Nice folks. I found them very helpful, and I called, try to document it again. The graph covers 50 years into 2005. Don't know what's happened since then, but that's okay. This is enough to give us the pattern. Um, uh, Now, a celebrity I will not name because I don't have permission for this, and I could have got it wrong. I wasn't there, but let's just say a celebrity or a figment of my imagination once said, looked at numbers like this, evidently, and you can see what he's talking about. And he said, look, money reduces babies because people don't have to have so many babies. Isn't that nice? We want to reduce the number of babies, just make them prosperous. But then he looked at these numbers and saw that when the least developed countries got richer, their fertility didn't drop as when the middling developed countries did. All right. We can see that right here, no problem. But then he said, aha, to himself, that must be because the least developed countries aren't as intelligent as everybody else. And we need to, well, all right, he can think it, but he said it out loud, and he's no longer much of a celebrity, if it was a he. That was a real mistake. Anybody would have known. You just don't say that. And I don't believe it personally. I don't have formal data, but What I do have is a little bit of family history, family tradition, and I can give you that as long as they don't claim it's science. It's just where I'm coming from when I think about such things. My grandfather went to college in South Carolina. He pulled the highest grade point average ever been achieved in that college, um, and his record stood until his sons came along and they did even better. So, bright fellow, granddaddy. Um, the At one point, granddaddy was, and this is family legend now, I wasn't there, chatting with a hired man who mentioned Ebola form. And grandfather, always interested in words, said, "Well, what's that?" Then the man, his black man, said, "Oh, well, it's African for an elephant." Well, the story finally got to me, um, and I thought, there's no African language. I'm sorry, there's a whole bunch of African languages. And besides, and I thought about it for years. It takes the neurons a long time to reconfigure, and I finally got it. Boliform. A bolus is a wad of chewed but unswallowed food. Every time you swallow food while you're eating under normal circumstances, that's a bolus going down. Um, Form, like planiform means flat, cruciform means shaped like a cross, form means shaped like. So shaped like a bolus, well, it's a bolus shaped like. It's just a shapeless mass. So a boliform is a shapeless mass. It's not African. That is perfectly good English. That's excellent English. And neither my grandfather nor anybody in between picked up on that. And the hired man was simply too polite to say, "No, old feller, that's English for a shapeless mass. That's what we call an elephant." Um, the Where are we? I could give you more examples of the same sort of thing, but the what I see when I deal with Africans, black people, is not so much or not at all reduced intelligence. What I see is excellent manners, very great courtesy. So if our celebrity friend had the courtesy of an African, he would never have said anything remotely resembling being critical of the entire, uh, you know, part of the world. That just would not be proper. And so, yeah, he lost his job and lost his fame pretty much. Okay. Um, so it's the family stories are my own observations. Don't prove anything, but boy, if you're going to try to tell me otherwise, really going to have some good data because the informal data is not that at all. Anyway, so yeah, poor countries, very fertile, rich countries, not very fertile. They use that too. 2.1 is a replacement. It's been 30 years, got that 30 years since rich countries had enough babies to replace themselves. And then that's as of 2005, right? Another, what, 15 years, 10 years has passed, and then some 40 years. We've never recovered. That is not good news. All right, so there we go. Well, what I did, once I looked at this, was say, I don't know. I'm a sucker for optical illusions. They always get me. See things in optical illusions that aren't there that other people don't see. But I looked at this and I said, I smell something. So what I did was I took these numbers, took the very same numbers, and I followed this line down here till it was equal to that line over there, right? So I followed the poorest countries in the world, the poorest of the poor, down to there, and then I jumped back to here. So I ditched these numbers, ditched these, just continued from there down to the point where the Midland countries were about as prosperous as the richest countries had been some years before, and then continued on out. Well, this is hardly a standard statistical test, but if you know what I'm doing, at least I'm trying to be honest. And here's what you get. You got that? It's all one line. You can't even tell where the edits are. For instance, there, where there's a little bit more step off than you would expect if it were perfectly smooth, that's not an edit. That's still within the behavior of the poorest of the poor. Again, here, that's a little bit much of a drop there. That's not an edit. You can't see the edits. We are all on the same curve. Don't let anybody tell you that in any consequential way, and all nature cares about is babies, reproduction, survival of the community. That's what nature sees in the long run. That's what nature worries about. No, nature's not conscious, but that is the only thing really, except a few rare mutations, that is going to have an impact. So, um, um, uh, so don't buy into the notion that the rich are somehow prudent. Sorry, we've already shown evidence that education, income mean nothing in terms of reproduction. We know that nothing except kinship, coupling of their ancestors, determines absolutely how many children there will be. Okay, folic acid will play a part as we get later, but none of this data is influenced by that, so far as I know. It's all a matter of marrying cousins. We don't marry cousins, and unless we start marrying cousins again, the line, remember the line, this line here for rich countries, go back and show it more or less unedited. That line for rich countries can never go up again. Got to marry cousins for that to happen. If we don't, it can never go up. It can continue down. That's quite possible, but it can't go back up. And so don't think it's stable. Don't think, oh, I'm we're leveling off just before replacement, and we'll drop a few percentage points every generation until we get our population size and planet matched, and dream on. Ain't going to happen. So you can cut to the chase. Go to nobabies.net and start reading the summaries first. I'd say read the summaries, and that's basically what I'm going over in these talks. Then look at the papers, and then if you really got the courage, go look at the source code, because my computer model, which we'll get to, depends on source code, and unlike some people, I'll give you the source code. So yeah, take a look at that. I had trouble with the links because I had the computer rebuilt basically, and it's a nice modern machine now. But It for a while I couldn't get the links to work on the website, but I had some help. Okay, thank you very much. Someday soon we'll have another talk.